Hello everyone, welcome to the Ginger Snaps here. We'll be discussing the Saw franchise for you guys in a very blunt way. I'm your host, Steven Harrold.
And this is Justin Harrold.
And in today's video, we're going to give you guys our review for Saw 2.
Released in 2005, directed by Darren Lynn. So the synopsis for Saw 2 is basically the police have located and capture Jigsaw. And basically, as soon as they capture Jigsaw, they realize that there's another game that is being played, one of which is basically the detective's son, who is played by, can't remember his name, but he was
Donnie Wahlberg.
The only thing I remember him from is he was a singer for New Kids on the Block, which is the irony about him.
Okay, I know him from Dead Silence, but he's one of the Wahlberg brothers. But
yeah,
fun fact, guys, I didn't fucking know that. So with that synopsis, basically we all know that after Saw came out, it was a hit, especially with that twist ending, and we basically got a Saw for 7 straight years every October, and Saw 2, again, was another movie we didn't get to see in theaters, but when we rented it again, we were hooked.
We had higher expectations because of how much we enjoyed the first film. So knowing that there's a sequel, we were already excited.
Yeah, and when we had actually watched the sequel and saw that, of course, in typical horror fashion, in a sequel there has to be a bigger body count, there has to be more added to it, and then of course in this movie we get more of a backstory on Jigsaw himself. So with the synopsis of this movie and just the storyline itself, of course, it's just now that Jigsaw has been captured, it's interesting to see that there's a game being played while he's in police custody, and just a simple thing of like Detective Matthews basically is like, you just gotta sit here and just talk with me. Which, by the way, during that conversation, I'm gonna go back to what I said from the previous video where I said, he's not really much of a villain. The shit Jigsaw says in this movie, I'm like, yeah, he's a fucking villain. So I really do like the story for this one, especially for Saw 2. I do like the story for this one. It raises the stakes in the sequel as it should. And what do you think of the story?
I think the story is amazing. In a way, I think it's a lot better than the first Saw because it adds more backstory of more characters, more importantly, Jigsaw. We're going to get into characters very soon, but another character who returns actually gets another, basically more backstory, and we find out something about her in the end, which is a twist. There's actually 2 twists in this movie when you think about it. Kind of 2.
Oh yes, yeah, they even upped the ante on that one. 2 twists. Yeah. So yeah, we both agree that we both actually do like the story for Saw 2.
Agreed.
So all of the things that all these people have in common that are playing this game is that they all have criminal records. They've done time, except with the exception of 2 of them. But we're gonna get to those 2 pretty quick after we get through these criminals and whatnot. So we have him. Then we also have.
So we have Xavier. We got Rig. We
have Obby.
Yeah. Another one who's just a criminal. So all these ones we're going to be listing are basically criminal records.
Yeah.
We got one named Laura.
Laura's
the blonde one. The only one that
the blonde one. Okay.
Died with the gas and all.
Yeah.
We got Addison. That's the one with the traps. With the 2 on.
Oh, and she was arrested, but we find out later on in the following film.
She was framed.
Oh no, she was framed, but there's another film where we see her and it's like, hey, wait, she was in Saw 2. And it's like, oh, she was an escort. Mm-hmm. So I guess a drug dealing escort or something like that.
That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
And then there's the business guy. There's that business guy who gets his eye shot.
Yeah,
we don't know what the fuck. Gus. Okay, we don't even know what the fuck he did.
I mean, again, it's just based on what we see,
Yeah.
we see his police file with his name.
Yeah.
That's all we get.
Yeah, that's
It's
all we
just,
get.
okay, he's another criminal.
So that's basically rounding up all the characters that were criminals who'd done time. But one character in particular is Daniel, who is Detective Matthews' son.
Yeah.
And the reason why he's in this game is because all these criminals that are participating in this game were all framed by Daniel's father, Detective Matthews.
And then another character who is also playing this game is actually a returning character, which happens to be Amanda.
Yep, Amanda. Amanda, who, of course, famously in the Reverse Bear Trap, she's in this movie again. So when we saw her again, we're like, what the fuck? You're in this again?
Yeah.
And of course, with Jigsaw, his method was always you don't appreciate life. So it's like, well, how the fuck did she end up in here again?
Well, our first assumption was, oh, she's doing her same old habits, so that was the first assumption. Little do we know the real reason why she's in it.
Yeah, the real reason, which we'll get to when it gets to the twists. So for all these characters, there's only two. We can't really say much about Gus because he was there just to get shot in the eye.
Well, let's put it this way: who is your least favorite, and who stood out the most? Not including Amanda, because she's main.
Well, the one that stood out to me the most was Xavier.
Yeah.
To me, he's the one who stands out the most because he not only is trying to take charge, but also trying to figure out how to fucking get out of here. But also at the same time, he's a fucking dick.
Yeah.
He's an asshole, and when we get to a certain trap, we explain why he's an asshole. But besides even saying Gus, I think the weakest one is the blonde-haired chick. She was the weakest one.
That I feel like is a filming issue because they don't really give enough backstory for her.
Yeah, we see that she was kidnapped in the middle of the night by Obby, which the other thing about Obby is that Obby helped Jigsaw lure all these people into the house that they're playing this game. But he's playing the game himself too, so it's just like that whatever fucking deal he had there, he got screwed over.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, it's like when you see her, that's basically all we get. We don't really see why she was in jail. She mentions that she has done time, and when they ask for what, she's like, it doesn't matter. It's like, well, what the fuck did you do?
Assuming it's petty theft.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, petty theft. Because she was well dressed.
That doesn't mean anything.
Well, I mean, petty, because remember when Winona Ryder was stealing from shopping malls? And it's like, you're fucking Winona Ryder.
Yeah.
Why are you stealing clothes from a department store?
They don't care.
Yeah, they don't give a shit. But of course, when it comes to those characters, we obviously know who is the standout, who is the weakest link, and not really much to say when it comes to the characters in terms of cons, really.
I mean, they do what they are supposed to do, and they are side characters, which that's what they are. So for their job in this movie, they do, I think, a fairly good job. My favorite thing is, unlike in the other film, I find the acting heavily improved.
Yeah, that was the thing that was really improved was the acting.
Yeah.
100%. I definitely have to agree with that one.
I don't think there's one character where I'm like, your acting kind of sucks.
Yeah, I agree. The standout obviously is Eric Matthews, played by Donnie Wahlberg, because he's playing a divorced fucking husband who's having problems with his son, and then of course he's put on this case because Jigsaw called out to him, and then when they finally they capture Jigsaw, now he was tasked to basically sit down and have a conversation with Jigsaw, and he's already fucking unhinged.
Oh, absolutely. The minute he finds out that his son has been captured, he's basically slowly losing his rationality.
Yeah.
And it's like, because we find out in this movie, he's a hothead. He's got a temper.
Yeah, he's got a massive temper.
And it will switch at any moment. And
Jigsaw plays it well, though.
But Jigsaw knows it.
Yeah, Jigsaw knows it. Yeah.
And he does it in full effect because when he's playing the game, the game with Matthews is all about, you just have to sit here and talk to me. When that timer goes basically all to zero. If you're still talking to me, you will see your son again.
Yeah.
He basically makes it that obvious, like
But
plain and clear.
But the shit he says.
Well, because he's trying to push him.
Yeah, he wants to push him. Yeah, and I mean, the actor who played Detective Matthews, Donnie Wahlberg. Yeah, he did fine, and I have no gripes about that. Especially when we follow him all the way to the end, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you actually rooted for this character to live.
Yeah, I could say that for sure, as opposed to Adam from the first film.
He's a stronger character than Adam.
100%. Would you think stronger than Dr. Gordon?
A little, yeah.
In terms of acting, 100%.
Yeah, 100% acting. I'd say Donnie Wahlberg's a lot higher than Gary Alves for sure.
Yeah. So in terms of our good friend Jigsaw, who
John Kramer.
Yup. From the ending of the first Saw film, we find out he was the one that was pretending to be dead in the bathroom the entire time.
Yeah.
In this one, he is already captured by the SWAT and detectives. He's not looking in good shape as
the cancer has
slowly creeped up on him.
Yeah.
And it's affecting his mobility and everything.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, that doesn't stop him from continuing to be messed in the head and being able to play these games. I personally think this is one of my favorite games. So before we go into ratings, this is my favorite Saw because of the traps, because of the setting of where the game takes place.
But the big one that you definitely know for sure is one of the things that elevates this movie as one of your favorites because we get more of John Kramer's backstory.
Yeah. I mean, the other films we get more of John Kramer's backstory too.
But it's little snippets.
Yes.
To a degree.
Yes, and without, yeah, I would agree.
Because this movie, we spend the most time with John Kramer. Yeah. We spend more time with him. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure that yeah, we do.
Because the first film, you don't spend any time with him because you don't know if he's the killer.
Yeah, you didn't know he was the patient in the bed when Dr. Gordon was teaching those students.
Yeah.
And you didn't know he was the dead body.
Yeah.
The only scene you ever saw him, but not really see him, was when Lieutenant Tapp gets to his lair. Mm-hmm. But you only hear his voice. You don't actually see his face.
No. I actually liked the way, it's weird, for someone who looks like he's dying slowly from cancer, I actually liked how John Kramer looked in this film. With his like little goatee and...
No, in this movie he didn't have the goatee.
Oh, he didn't?
No, he didn't have the goatee.
I thought there was a scene where...
Oh, it was a flashback scene.
Yeah. I was pretty... And saw this film, I'm pretty...
Oh, yeah. There was a flashback scene where he does have the goatee. Yeah. And that's the weird thing, too, because it's like, there's a lot of, like, going back and forth from hairstyles and everything like that, and it's like, fuck, I don't know if they shot this right there and then at that time when that movie came out. I don't fucking know. But, yeah, I mean, John Kramer's look even looks great. I mean, like, he was, I think, in his 60s when he was doing this movie, and they made him look a little bit older, especially with the fact that he's hooked up to a water bag and everything. So yeah, he's not doing so fucking well.
No.
I mean, even that scene, like you always point out, which always gets a chuckle from you, where he's like, "Can you just give me a glass of water?" And he's just like, he just shakes the cup like, "Fucking please,
I'm a cancer patient.
Yeah,
fucking give it to me.
Have a fucking heart, for God's sakes." So out of all the Saws, like, there's no doubt in your mind, this is Tobin Bell's best performance. We don't know.
I mean,
Saw X yet.
You know what? This is definitely up there.
Okay.
I mean, there's other Saw movies where I really liked Tobin Bell.
Yeah.
But this was, to me, like, peak.
Yeah.
This is a peak Tobin Bell performance.
Yeah, this is like top tier Tobin Bell Saw performance. Okay. Now we get to the traps.
Our personal favorite, which is going to be a thing with these films, are the traps. I will let you start off. Is there any standout traps in this film that you enjoyed?
Well, I think everyone knows it's the one trap that everyone talks about when it comes to this fucking movie. It's the needle pit.
Yeah, I think that's because it's probably the grossest trap in the film.
And it's also like because everyone has a fear of needles, right? And
I
to be
mean,
shoved into a pit like that.
yeah, I mean,
Used needles nonetheless.
yeah.
It's fucking gross. I know that there's also like a lot of other traps, but the movie even starts with the Venus flytrap.
And we actually see a death to start the film.
Yeah, we see a death, and I I don't know when it comes to the Venus flytrap and it comes to the reverse bear trap.
It's interesting because you are the more we've talked about it, you're becoming less and less of a fan of the Venus flytrap.
Me, it's yeah, like I liked it when I first saw it, but then after a while, there are so many other good traps that basically it's like you sometimes forget about the Venus flytrap until you're discussing Saw 2 and you're like, oh yeah, that's right, the Venus flytrap. That's in that fucking movie.
I think the reason why everyone talks about the Venus flytrap is because in the first Saw, the standout would be the reverse bear trap.
Yeah.
Saw 2, I mean, technically you would say the needle, but if we're going based on like traps attached to your head, yeah, it would be the Venus flytrap.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be that one.
But the reason it's not as effective as reverse bear trap is even though we see a death, you don't really see the impact aside from a little bit of blood that gets spilled.
Yeah, and like it's basically like it's like that one medieval device that enclosed your whole entire body and was just full of spikes. But now it's just smaller. It's basically a death mask.
Yeah.
And you don't get to see like once that thing closes,
You don't see like the gore.
yeah, you see nothing.
You just see spilt blood when it's like pouring out of the mask.
Yeah, that's all you get to see. What about you? Besides obviously besides the needle pit, what would be another trap that you found more memorable about this movie?
That is a tough one because I don't look at Saw 2 as the most memorable trap. I look at Saw 2 as just the setting in general is what stands out to me.
Okay.
But if I go based on trap,
Because there are some traps in this movie where it's basically like you if you were just had some common sense.
see, here's the thing: there is one that I really like, but the shitty part is about it. We don't see the effects on screen. We just hear it with the implication off screen. And that's the one where Addison goes into the room where she's already coughing enough blood and she's not thinking clearly.
The box trap, right?
Yeah, where she puts her hands in both of the it's basically a box and it's got like a needle in the middle.
Have you ever put your finger in a what's it called, a McDonald's lid, right in the middle where the straw goes, and it kind of gets stuck? That's basically what that is.
Yeah, and it's glass.
No, it's razor wire.
When you're trying to pull it out?
Yeah, it's razor wire.
It looks like it's glass.
No, it's razor wire.
Oh, it's
I was having debates with people online that like it was glass, and I was like, no, I think it is glass. And then looked again after we rewatched it. I was like, oh, that's fucking. Well, it's actually metal, shaved, sharpened down to be razor sharp. And she, like, that was the other thing too about this movie is we don't know if that was actually designed for her.
No, because she just rips open the envelope. We don't see what name is on it. She doesn't even play the tape, and she just
throws it,
puts her hand in, not thinking clearly, being an idiot.
Yeah.
And then with the loud screaming we hear in the next scene,
it's presumed that
she did that.
Yeah, because basically that trap is the only way how she could set herself free is basically pull her arms down and just cut her hands off.
Yeah. But if she was smart, what she would have done is just had one hand in, arm in.
No, what she should have done was walked a little further and she would have seen the padlock with the key there where she could have just opened the door and then just grabbed the fucking syringe. But, of course, like, it shows on camera, too. Like, it's right there. Like, oh, you're a fucking idiot.
But they're not thinking.
No, they're not thinking.
No.
Of course, then there's Obby's furnace trap, which I get it. A lot of people will say that's their favorite because they don't like to be burned alive.
It's a fine trap, but to me, it's a predictable trap.
Not just predictable, but like you even said to me, like, see what I mean? Like the first syringe was on a string.
Yeah.
He should have had the common sense and the knowledge to notice the other one.
The minute you see the second syringe and how it's like
a lot higher too,
and it's chained up, I'm like, that's a trap.
And you even said like you'd even feel the weight of him like closing the door
because he's trying to pull it and nothing yet. It's like, yeah, you're doomed.
And then he notices the
valve.
The valve, but it's like way too fucking late at that rate.
Yeah,
because all that fire is just going up.
Yeah, and instinct is when you see fire, get away from the fire. Yeah. You don't think, oh, I see a valve, I'm going to go in.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, yeah, would I risk burning myself just to change the valve? Yeah, but
at that time,
when you're that high up, it's like you're too late.
Yeah, exactly. Like you're gonna get 3rd-degree burns at that rate.
Yeah.
The other trap. Well, even Jonas. We don't know what his trap was because he gets the baseball bat with the nails to his head.
Same with Gus.
Gus, yeah. No, I feel like Gus. Like
that was gonna be anyone's mistake.
That could have been anyone's mistake, but it essentially became his trap, where it's just like he gets shot in the eye. But I'd probably have to say when it comes to whose death was worse, like which was the worst death in this movie, it's obviously going to be the blonde-haired chick, because she literally succumbs to the gas. Because we don't even know what her trap would have been.
You know what? I don't know. I would say I would disagree.
So who do you think would have the weaker trap then? Or whose death was the weakest? Can't say Obby's. He's burned to fucking alive.
I mean, like, Laura's traps... Laura didn't get a trap. Her death was probably the weakest. At the same time...
Yeah, she succumbs to the gas.
Xavier's wasn't that great as either. He literally just got slashed.
Oh, yeah, fuck, that's right. Yeah, Xavier's trap was the needle pit.
But he didn't go in it.
No, he put Amanda in it.
Yeah.
So it's like, you're a fucking coward. That's why he was an asshole. He throws Amanda into the pit instead of him doing it because he's the drug dealer.
Yeah.
Instead of him going into it, he throws Amanda in it. And I just love that clever line. It's like finding a needle in a haystack.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
That's not even the best line in the movie.
What's the best line in the movie?
It's when...
I ain't leaving until your son's pissing blood?
Yes.
Really? That's your favorite line?
Because he's egging him on, and it works.
Oh, it's why he's beating the shit out of him, too.
Yeah.
It's like, I ain't leaving until your son's pissing blood.
Because he beats him, and then he's like, do you want to go now? And he's like, I'm not leaving until your son's pissing blood. And at that point, he's just, fine, I'm breaking your fucking finger.
Yeah. So, best trap, though. What would be, like, if you had to sit there and someone said, best trap, not the needle pit. What's the best trap?
Again, I don't think of Saw 2 as...
The traps.
I think of the story and this environment, which is why I love it, and the twist. But if I go based on trap, I might be in the minority, but I'm going to say Venus flytrap.
Venus flytrap? See, for me, if they were to say, like, you can't pick the needle pit, I'd be like, okay.
Needle pit's only gross.
Yeah, it's only gross. But if someone was to ask me, okay, you can't pick the needle pit, I'm like, all right, well, I guess the only trap I can think of now is basically the box trap. So now we're going to talk to you guys about the twists in this movie, because yes, there are more than one twist. It's not like, a dead body coming out from the fucking ground again. They had to be a little bit more inventive. So I'll start with the one twist, which was basically the timer that is going off where they have the bomb squad come in to basically defuse it and whatnot, and then try to find the location of where this game is being played. We find out when they find the location where this game is being played, we find out that the game was not actually being played at all. It was not a live game. It was a recording.
Mm-hmm.
The game had already happened, and in due part of that, the timer was literally what John Kramer's saying is, if you just sit here and talk to me, you'll see your son again. And then literally as the timer goes off, a safe opens, his son's in it, and it's right next to where they were sitting.
Not just that, but when the SWAT team go to the location of the house, it's not the right house.
Yeah, it's not even the right fucking house.
Instead, it's just set up as, hey, this is where the feed of all of the video is.
Yeah, because when Riggs presses pause and the feed stops, it's like, oh fuck. But we even noticed it even when we first watched the movie, that when they broke into the house, we're like, that's not the same house.
No.
Like, we caught on to that.
Yeah.
But we didn't know that, like, because, Silence of the Lambs went to the wrong house. We thought, oh, the game is being played at a different house. They just got the wrong thing, just to find out, oh, this game wasn't live at all.
See, what I love, though, is John Kramer gives subtle hints about it, too.
Yeah, that little sign, like, he's in a safe place.
No, not even just that. I mean, that, too, which is my favorite.
That's, like, right on the fucking nose.
But there's the one part, because when basically Eric Matthews finds out, why the fuck is my son on there? He basically admits, well, I haven't seen the video in such time, but I would imagine he's right now
sitting in a corner with a look on his...
Yeah, which is ironic, because the video only starts when they open that door and enter the room. That's when the feed starts playing. So at that point, he's like, okay, this is where he's going to be. He's going to be cowering in the corner.
Yeah.
That's why he knew how to say it.
I did have a chuckle at that line, too. It's like, I haven't seen the video feed in quite some time, but I'd imagine he's sitting in a corner with a look on his face, and he just starts like, you motherfucker! And he's just like, yeah, I got you. yeah, I take back what I said. John Kramer's definitely a fucking villain. This movie proved me wrong.
Yeah.
But now, then, not only is that one of the twists, there's also the other twist.
So we find out that Jigsaw has an accomplice.
Yeah.
And it turns out the accomplice happens to be Amanda, who ends up being in the game. We find out the reason she's in the game is actually to make sure people are following the rules.
Mm-hmm.
If they don't follow the rules, they're going to die.
Yeah. She was basically like monitoring everybody. And
yeah,
I had even brought up the whole, she's the only one in that whole entire movie, in that house, who doesn't look sick. Everyone's coughing up blood. Everyone's like looking pale as fuck. Even Eric's son is.
Yeah.
But not coughing up blood.
But the thing is...
But Amanda's not.
And at the same time, I have this theory that not only was she making sure like people follow the rules, I think she's also simultaneously making sure to protect the boy.
Yeah, like he was supposed to live the whole time.
Because like we need this boy, because we need him in the safe.
Yeah. So she was like the fail-safe, kind of like the protector in a way. Like, I'm gonna make sure this game is. She's basically the Vince McMahon, where it's just like, well, no, you're going over, brother. Like, basically. But other than that, we even see in the flashback where she's cutting her wrists. And John Kramer's there, so it's almost like he was instructing her, like, yeah, cut your wrists, and then we'll make it look like, you didn't value your life again.
Mm-hmm.
But to see that Amanda is the one that takes up the mantle of John Kramer Jigsaw was the one twist that I think, again, no one saw coming.
No.
But at the same time, would you kind of say, out of all the twists we've seen in all the Saw movies, this may be one of the weaker ones? Or is it a strong one to you?
Now, it might be lower in terms of twists, but at the time, this was one of the best twists. I wouldn't say it was better than Saw, because I don't think you can top that.
No,
twist.
you can't Saw. You can't top that one.
It was a very good, effective twist, because I don't think anyone saw it coming.
Yeah, no,
I didn't.
Yeah, well, we both didn't see that Amanda was someone you were rooting for to live. You find out is the villain.
Yeah,
it's like, fuck.
My expectation was, okay, she's back in this again. I assume this time she's gonna die.
That's what I thought too. Is she was gonna die?
Yeah.
Like, oh, she's not gonna make it this time.
Mm-hmm.
And to be the villain, it's like, And of course, she had that grudge against Eric Matthews because she got brained.
Yeah.
And of course, it's like, well, both twists are still good in a way, but they just don't have that holy shit factor like the first one still does.
No, I would agree with you there. But it's still one of the most effective twists in the Saw franchise.
Yeah, it's still one of the most effective. Of course, when it comes to this film, we both agree that the story is great. Their characters are an improvement.
Acting wise, yes.
Acting wise, yes. Expanding on John Kramer was the best choice to do, especially like one of the best interrogation scenes in a weird way, similar to The Dark Knight with the Joker and Batman. But also just the deaths and the two twists that we get to see, and just how everything unfolds, and how, of course, how a sequel is supposed to be. It's supposed to be bigger than the first. And to me, like, when it comes to this one, I did enjoy it a lot more. It still holds up as one of the, like, top 5 in the franchise. And if I was to give it a rating, I know I gave Saw an 8 out of 10. I'd have to give this a 7 out of 10.
Okay. So I'm sticking to what I've said in the previous video, where I don't believe any Saw film gets 10 or a 9. That's just how I feel. I mean, like, and I'm sure even the media agrees, because, let's be honest, they are more critical about it than I am. They don't seem to love these movies.
Oh, also, just so you guys are aware, the reason why I'm giving it a 7 out of 10 is because of the fact that we don't really see the other traps are in other rooms. 3 people die without being involved in a trap at all.
Mm-hmm.
And, oh fuck, you know what we forgot? We forgot about that stair trap.
That was just like a trap.
It was a booby trap, but still, it's effective.
It's a booby trap, though.
Yeah.
I wouldn't count it.
But like that's mainly my only gripe, is the fact that 3 of the characters die without being involved in a trap, and you're kind of curious as to what their trap would have been. Like, what is their trap?
See, though, again, I don't view Saw 2 for traps. I view it for the story and the setting, which is
the
gas house,
yeah,
and the characters. So again, like, I'm gonna sound like a broken record. I don't believe in 10s or 9s yet. Saw X pending in any of these films getting a 10 or a 9. The first one I gave a 7 out of 10. This is a solid 8.
So basically, yeah, it's we've just swapped.
Yeah.
So your rating is, you're giving this movie an 8 out of 10, and I'm giving this movie a 7 out of 10. Mm-hmm. So anyways, guys, that's been our review for Saw 2. Hopefully you guys liked this video, and if you did, make sure you also give it the thumbs up and subscribe for more content. And don't forget to hit that bell notification so you can get notified about all the other Saw videos coming out on the channel.
And for the next Saw, basically the next one, we're going to be discussing Saw 3.
Saw 3, we had finished it, and I kind of have something to say that I think a lot of people already know is one of the biggest problems in that movie.
I think that will be discussed in the next video, but I think what we can say is Saw 3 is where it starts to change people's opinions on the films.
It's kind of a little bit in the divisive. It's not very divisive, but it kind of gets there. It gets the train rolling on that one. Yep. But anyways, guys, that's it from us. This has been the Ginger Snaps here. I'm your host, Steven Harrold.
And this is Justin Harrold.
And I'll talk to you guys later. And remember, live or die, make your choice.